Doors opened with a soft hiss, and Jake stepped onto the diplomatic station. He took a deep breath and looked around at the massive docking bay. Lights of every color reflected off polished metal walls. Alien ships of all shapes and sizes filled the space around them. This was the most important place in the galaxy right now. 12 species had gathered here to sign a peace treaty that could end centuries of conflict. Tran walked up beside him and adjusted her simple black uniform. Behind them came Holt and Sam. The four of them made up the entire human security detail for Ambassador Cole. They wore no armor. They carried no guns. They had nothing on their belts except communication devices. The guards approached them. There were tall creatures with gray skin and 4 arms. Their leader wore golden bands on each arm to show his rank. He looked at the humans with large black eyes and made a sound that might have been louder. So the famous human guards, he asked through his translator device, you carry no weapons at all. How do you expect to protect anyone? He smiled politely. We have our methods. Guard shook his head. Your methods will get your ambassador killed. This summit is dangerous. The Enlightened people have been at war for 60 years. There are many who do not want peace. You understand the risks, Lee said calmly. Guards appeared from other directions. They were shorter than humans but twice as wide. Their bodies were covered in thick brown plates like natural armor. Each one carried plasma rifles that hummed with deadly energy. They looked at the humans with small red eyes and whispered to each other. Heard pieces of their conversation through his translator. They were calling humans weak and foolish. They wondered why such a primitive species had been invited to the sun at all. Humanity had only joined the galactic community 15 years ago. To these ancient emperors, humans were still children playing at being important. After Cole emerged from the shuttle, she was a woman in her 50s with silver hair and sharp eyes. She had spent her whole career building bridges between enemies. This summit was her greatest achievement so far. If the treaty was signed, it would bring peace to hundreds of worlds. Ambassador Jake said quietly, stay close to us. Then walked between her guards. The escort led them through winding corridors toward the diplomatic quarters. Along the way, they passed members of other species. The insect-like clicked their mandibles nervously. The floating drifted past like living clouds. The reptilian watched everything with cold, calculating eyes. One stared at the unarmed humans. Some looked confused, others looked amused. A few looked almost sorry for them. Reached the human quarters and the guards left them alone. The rooms were comfortable enough. Large windows showed the stars outside. Jake immediately began checking every corner while examining the door controls. Other species think we are stupid, Sam said as he set up his communication equipment. I can hear them talking on open channels. They are making jokes about us. Let them joke, Jake replied. It works in our favor. She stood by the window and watched a group of guards patrolling the corridor below. Her eyes narrowed as she studied their movements. She had spent years learning to read alien body language. Something about these guards bothered her. Jake, she said softly, look at the patrol pattern. He came to stand beside her. He watched for a few minutes in silence. The guards were not walking random routes. They were positioning themselves at specific points around the station. Every few minutes they would shift to new positions in a careful pattern. They are covering set lines, Jake realized, like they are preparing for something. Preparing to let something happen, Lisa added. His inspection and joined them. The doors have standard locks, easy to break if someone wanted to get in, and I found 3 different ways someone could listen to our conversation. Disable the listening devices, Jake ordered, but do it quietly. We do not want them to know we found them. I looked up from his equipment. I'm picking up a lot of encrypted traffic. Someone is sending secret messages all over the station. I cannot read them yet, but I am working on it. Sat down in a chair and looked at her guards. She had worked with Jake for 5 years. She trusted him completely, but even he sometimes wondered about his methods. She said, the other ambassadors asked me why my guards carry no weapons. They think I am either very brave or very foolish. I told them that humans have different ideas about security, but I admit I would feel better if I knew exactly what those ideas were. He sat down across from her. His fate was serious, but his eyes were kind. Ambassador, we carry the most powerful weapons in the galaxy, but they are not the kind you can see. Every member of my team has a neural implant connected to the largest intelligence network humanity has ever built. We have spent 15 years gathering information. Every secret deal, every hidden crime, every lie told by every powerful figure in the galaxy. We know things that could destroy empires. Stared at him. You are saying that your weapon is information. Saying that truth is more dangerous than any gun. The species out there think we are weak because we carry no rifles. But if we release what we know, half the delegates at the summit would be arrested by their own people. We do not need to kill anyone. We just need them to know that we could expose them. He turned from the window. But we would only do that as a last resort. Our real goal is to keep everyone honest. When powerful people know they are being watched, they behave better. It was quiet for a long moment. Then she smiled slowly. So the human guards arrive unarmed because our weapons are invisible. Exactly, Jake said. And what we conceal is far more dangerous than plasma rifles. At the window, the guards continued their strange patrol pattern. Somewhere on the station, enemies of peace were making lands. They thought they had nothing to fear from the weaponless human. They were wrong. He stood up and looked at his team. Something is going to happen at this summit. I can feel it. Lisa, keep watching the patrols. Sam, break that encryption. Learn every exit route on the station. We need to be ready. His team nodded and went to work. The summit would officially begin tomorrow. Until then, they would watch and wait and gather more truth. Because in a galaxy full of weapons, the humans had learned that knowledge was the greatest power of all. The first day of the summit passed without incident. Delegates from 12 species gathered in the Grand Tree Hall to make speeches about peace and cooperation. Ambassador Cole spoke beautifully about humanity's hope for a united galaxy. The ambassadors sat on opposite sides of the room and barely looked at each other. But at least they were talking. That was progress. When I came to the station, the lights in the corridors dimmed to simulate darkness. Most delegates retired to their quarter. Guards patrolled the halls in shifts. The station became quiet except for the soft hum of machines keeping everyone alive in the cold emptiness of space. Could not sleep. He sat in the common room of the human quarters and reviewed the data his team had collected. Lisa's observations about the patrol patterns were troubling. Sam had managed to decode some of the encrypted messages. They were fragments only, but they contained words like opportunity and blame and eliminate. Lisa appeared in the doorway. I found something, she said quietly. He followed her to the window. Down in the corridor below, a small figure moved through the shadows. It was but not a guard. This one wore the simple robes of a diplomatic aide. He has been walking past our quarters 3 times in the last hour, Lisa explained. Each time he slows down and looks up at our window. He wants to talk to us, Jake realized, but he is afraid of being seen. Should I bring him in? Thought about it. This could be a trap, or it could be exactly the information they needed. He made his decision. Get him, use the service entrance. Slipped out silently. A few minutes later she returned with the aide. He was young by their standards, with lighter gray skin than the older members of his species. His 4 hands trembled as he looked around the human quarter. "We're safe here," Jake assured him. "Our room is secure and no one is listening." Took a shake breath. "My name is, I serve Ambassador. I should not be here. If anyone finds out, I will be executed." "Then why did you come?" To Jake with desperate eyes. "Because something terrible is going to happen, and your people will be blamed for it." He kept his face calm even though his heart beat faster. "Tell me everything." And a pace back and forth. His 4 arms waved as he talked, a sign of extreme stress in his speed. A secret group called the Void Accord. They exist in every major species. They are generals and merchants and politicians who profit from war. This peace treaty threatens everything they have built. If they stop fighting, the Void Accord lose power and money. They want to stop the treaty, Lisa said. Want to destroy it completely. They plan to assassinate key delegates during the signing ceremony, and they will make it look like humans did it. He felt cold anger building inside him. Why humans? You are new to the galaxy, because no one would go to war to avenge you. If it kills there will be war. But if a human kills anyone, the other species will simply remove humanity from galactic affairs. The Void Accord gets their chaos without risking themselves. I've been listening from his communication station. That explains the encrypted messages. They are coordinating the attack. Forward, his young face was hard with anger. We have to warn someone. The other ambassadors need to know. Believe us? Asked Sedley. The Void Accord has members everywhere, even among my own people. I do not know who to trust except you. Walked to the center of the room. His mind was racing through possibilities. The Void Accord had chosen humans as scapegoats because they thought humans were weak and isolated, but they did not know about the neural implants. They did not know about the intelligent network. Jake said carefully, "How did you learn about the plot?" Intercepted a message meant for someone else. It was an accident, but once I saw it, I could not pretend I had not. You get us more information, names of the conspirators, details of their plan. Hesitated. It would be very dangerous. No, but we cannot stop them without proof. Right now, we only have your word. That is not enough to convince anyone. Young thought for a long moment. Finally, he nodded slowly. I will try, but you must promise me something. What? Promise me that when this is over, humans will remember that I helped you. My people are not all warmongers. Some of us truly want peace. Extended his hand in the human gesture of a grin. Looked at it with confusion until Lisa explained. Then he reached out with one of his 4 hands and gripped Jake's fingers awkwardly. Remember, Jake promised. Now go before someone notices you are missing. Contact Sam on this frequency when you have more information. As quietly as he had come, the 4 humans stood in silence for a moment, processing everything they had learned. Well, appeared from her bedroom, she had clearly been listening. The Void Accord, she said grimly. I have heard rumors about them for years. I never thought they were real. Real, Jake confirmed. And they want to use us to destroy everything you have worked for. Eyes were fierce. Then we stopped them. What do you need? Looked at his team. We need to identify every member of the Void Accord on the station. We need to know exactly when and how they plan to attack. And we need to make sure that when we expose them, the truth reaches everyone at once. Neural implants can broadcast to every network on the station simultaneously, Sam said. If we gather enough evidence, we can show the entire galaxy what the Void Accord really is. And that is what we do, Jake said. Lisa, work with. Learn everything he knows about the conspirators. Keep watching the guards. Find out which ones are loyal to the Void Accord. Sam, crack the rest of that encryption. I want to read every message they send. Team moved to their tasks. Watched them with new respect in her eyes. Always wondered why you never carry weapons, she admitted. Now I understand. You do not need to kill anyone. You just need to show the galaxy what is hiding in the darkness. Nod slowly. We learned a long time ago that bullets can end a life, but truth can change history. The Void Accord thinks they are safe because no one knows their secrets, but we are going to shine a light so bright that every shadow disappears. At the window, the station continued its slow rotation around a distant star. Somewhere in those quarters, enemies plied murder and blamed it on innocent humans. They had no idea that the humans they mocked were already hunting them back. The game had begun. Days passed while the human team gathered their evidence. Proved to be a brave and resourceful ally. He moved through the station like a ghost, collecting fragments of information and passing them to Sam through secure channels. Slowly, the picture became clearer. The Accord had at least 30 members on the station. They came from 7 different species. Some were guards, some were diplomats, some were servants who moved invisibly through the quarters, ignored by everyone important. They communicated through encrypted messages in secret meetings in the lower levels of the station where few people ever went. Called his team together in the early morning before the 3rd day of the sun. They sat around a small table covered with date screens showing everything they had learned. Assassination is planned for tomorrow, Jake announced. During the final signing ceremony, they will use a toxin that dissolves in minutes, leaving no trace. 3 delegates will die, Ambassador of the Commander of the and Ambassador Cole. A sharp breath but said nothing. She had known she might be a target. Killer is disguised as a server, Lisa continued. We do not know which one yet. There are 40 servers assigned to the ceremony. The toxin will be in the drinks served to the targets. The deaths, they will plan evidence pointing to us, Sam added. Fake communications showing that humans were paid to commit the murders. By the time anyone learns the truth, it will be too late. The tree will be dead and the galaxy will hate humanity. Slammed his fist on the table. We have to tell the other delegations. Show them what we know. It's exactly what we cannot do, Jake said firmly. The Void Accord has spies everywhere. If we warn anyone before we are ready, they will change their plans. Or they will kill us quietly and proceed anyway. We need to expose them publicly all at once in a way that cannot be or hidden. How asked? Leaned back in his chair. For the first time, he allowed himself to smile. And he built our intelligent network for exactly this kind of moment. Our neural implants are connected to broadcast systems across the station. When I give the signal, everything we know will be transmitted simultaneously to every screen, every speaker, every device on the station. The Void Accord's messages, their membership lists, their plans in their own words. Everyone will see the truth at the same time. We still do not know who the assassin is, Lisa pointed out. Then we need to find out today. Let me work on the guards. I have been watching them for days. There is one young soldier named who seems different from the others. He follows orders, but I can see doubt in his eyes. Maybe he knows something. Nod. Be careful. If he is loyal to the Void Accord, you will be in danger. Can handle myself, said confidently. He left the room to begin his mission. So checked her day screen. I will meet with again. He has been trying to identify the server who will carry the poison. He thinks he is close. Oh, Jake agreed. Sam, keep monitoring their communications. I want to know the moment anything changes. I nodded and turned back to his equipment. Jake and were left alone. Batter looked tired. The stress of the summit was hard enough. Learning that she was marked for death made it worse, but her voice was steady when she spoke. If this fails, if they exceed in killing me, promise me you will still expose them. The tree matters more than my life. He shook his head. We will not fail, and you will live to see the tree sign. You cannot promise that. I can promise that I will die before I let them hurt you. That is what guards do. Well, sadly, you carry no weapon, Jake. How will you stop a killer? These, Jake said, tagging his temple where his neural implant was hidden. And with these, he held up his empty hands. Humans have been protecting each other since before we discovered fire. We do not need guns. We need determination and cleverness and the willingness to sacrifice everything for what matters. Tasked, the summit continued its formal proceeding while invisible battles were fought in the shadows, found in a quiet corridor and struck up a conversation. The young soldier was suspicious at first, but was patient and friendly. They talked about their homes, their families, their hopes for peace. Eventually, he admitted the truth. He knew something was wrong with his unit. His commander gave strange orders. Guards were told to look away from certain areas at certain times. Did not know the details, but he knew it was not normal. Joined the military to protect my people, said quietly, not to participate in schemes I do not understand. Help me, urged. Help me find out what is really happening. If there is a plot against the peace treaty, you can help stop it. Or with the decision, his loyalty to his commanders fought against his conscience. Finally, he made his choice. Commander meets with a servant every night in the lower cargo bay. I do not know what they discuss, but it feels wrong. Admitted this information to Jake immediately. That night, Lisa and watched the cargo bay from hiding. They saw the commander meet with a thin wearing servant clothes. They could not hear the conversation, but they recorded images of both conspirators. More importantly, they watched the servant go directly from that meeting to the kitchen, where the ceremony drinks were being prepared. He stayed there for several minutes before leaving. Lisa sent her report, found him. The assassin is a servant named. He has access to the kitchen and the ceremony hall. He will poison the drinks tomorrow. Received the message and felt grim satisfaction. They finally had everything they needed, the evidence, the names, the plan. Now they just had to survive long enough to use it. Gathered his team one final time as the stage lights dim for night. Are we in this? Get some sleep if you can. When the ceremony begins, stay alert. The moment moves toward the targets, I will trigger the broadcast. The whole galaxy will learn the truth about the Void Accord. What if they try to stop the broadcast? Sam asked. Cannot stop it, Jake assured him. Our network was designed to be unstoppable. Once I give the signal, nothing can prevent the truth from spreading. The team went to rest. Jake stood alone by the window, watching the stars turn slowly around the station. Tomorrow would decide the future of humanity in the galaxy. They would either prove their worth or be destroyed by lies. He knew which outcome he was fighting for. And Tree Hall was the most beautiful room on the station. Crystal pillars rose toward a ceiling made of transparent material that showed the stars themselves. Delegates from 12 species filled the curved rows of seats. Their robes and uniforms created a rainbow of color. Translators hummed softly as speeches were given in none of languages. Stood behind Ambassador Cole's chair. His team was positioned around the hall at strategic points. Lisa was near the main entrance, was close to the delegation. Sam was by the service doors where the servers entered and left. In a position near his commander, the young soldier had agreed to help. If anything went wrong, he would act against his own people to stop the conspiracy. Jake hoped it would not come to that. The ceremony began with formal statements from each delegation. Leaders spoke about the long road to peace. They honored those who had died in the war. They expressed hope for a future without conflict. The words were beautiful, but Jake barely heard them. His eyes were fixed on the service doors. First servers entered carrying trays of drinks. They moved smoothly between the delegates, offering refreshments with practiced grace. Jake studied each one carefully. None of them was. A server came, still no sign of the assassin. Felt tension building in his chest. Had something changed? Had the Void Accord discovered that their plan was known? The service doors opened again and walked in. He was thin even by standards, with pale gray skin and nerve movement. He carried a small tray with only 3 glasses. The glasses were made of blue crystal, marking them as special drinks reserved for honored guests. His blood went cold. Those 3 glasses were meant for Ambassador Commander in Cole. Slowly through the hall, staying close to the walls. He was waiting for the right moment. The tree sign would happen soon. The delegates would raise their glasses to toast the new peace, and 3 of them would drink poison. He opened his neural connection and prepared the broadcast. Every piece of evidence they had gathered was ready. The encrypted messages, the recorded meetings, the membership lists, the names of every traitor. It would all be transmitted the moment he gave the command. He had to time it perfectly. If he acted too soon, might escape or destroy the evidence. If he waited too long, people would die. At the front of the hall where the most important delegates sat, Ambassador was reviewing the tree documents. Commander stood rigid and proud in his ceremonial armor. Cole sat calmly, showing no fear even though she knew death was walking toward her. Head of the Sun stepped forward to begin the signing ceremony. Distinguished delegates, he announced, we gathered data in 6 years of war. With these signatures, we choose peace over conflict, cooperation over destruction, life over death. Close now, just a few steps from the target. He sent a quick message to his team, prepare. So moved toward the entrance, ready to block any escape, shifted closer to Commander. Sam positioned himself between and the service door. The document was placed on the central table. Ambassador stepped forward to sign first. As he did, lifted his tray and began moving toward the honored guests. Jake made his decision. He activated the broadcast. The screen in the hall flickered. The lights dimmed for a moment and then returned. A voice began speaking from every speaker in the room. It was Sam's voice, recorded earlier, explaining everything they had discovered about the Void Accord. Let's looked around in confusion. Then the evidence began appearing on every surface that could display images. Messages between conspirators filled the screens. Recordings of secret meetings played for everyone to see. Names and faces of Void Accord members appeared with documentation of their crimes. His eyes went wide with shock and then fear. No, he whispered, this is impossible. It's erupted. Delegates shouted questions. Guards drew weapons and pointed them at each other, unsure who was enemy and who was friend. The commander screamed orders at his soldiers, but half of them stood frozen as their own crimes were displayed on the screens around them. Distray and ran. The blue crystal glasses shattered on the floor, spilling their poison contents harmlessly. Fast, He had been a Marine before joining the Diplomatic Protection Service. His body was a weapon even without guns. He caught in 3 steps and brought him down with a single precise strike. The assassin collapsed, unconscious before he hit the ground. The commander pulled his sidearm and aimed it at Jake. "You have destroyed everything," he screamed. "This was supposed to be our moment." Before he could fire, acted. The young soldier grabbed his commander's arm and twisted the weapon away. Other loyal soldiers joined him, and within seconds the commander was restrained. He walked calmly to the center of the hall. Every eye in the room was on him. The broadcast continued playing evidence around them, but the initial chaos was settling in stunned silence. "Distinguished delegates," Jake said clearly, "my name is Jake. I lead the human security team for Ambassador Cole. What you are seeing is the truth about a conspiracy called the Void Accord. They plan to assassinate 3 of your leaders today and blame humanity for the murders. Their goal was to destroy this peace treaty and keep you at war forever." Ambassador stepped forward. His 4 arms hung limp at his sides as he stared at the Evans scrolling past. "This cannot be real," he said weakly. "Some of these names. I have known these people for decades." "Evans speaks for itself," Jake replied. Every recording is authentic. The Void Accord has been manipulating your peoples for generations. They profit from war. Peace threatened their power, so they tried to kill peace itself." And looked at his restrained soldiers and then at who had helped stop them. "You betrayed your own commander," said slowly. Tall, "I was loyal to my people, commander, not the traitors who would sacrifice us all for their greed." Silent for a long moment, then he nodded with something like respect. Broadcast finished. The evidence had been transmitted to every corner of the station and beyond. Ships were already receiving it. Within hours, the entire galaxy would know about the Void Accord. He looked at the delegates around him. Some were angry, some were ashamed. Many were simply shocked, but they were all alive. That was what mattered. "Treaty is still waiting to be signed," Jake said quietly. "The choice is still yours to make." Batter looked at Jake with new eyes. "You humans came to this summit with no weapon. We thought you were fools, but you carried something far more dangerous than guns." "Carried the truth," Jake confirmed, "and we used it to protect the peace you all worked so hard to create." Cole stood and walked to the tree table. Her hands were steady as she picked up the signing pen. "I believe we have a ceremony to complete," she said. The treaty was signed. By one, the delegates came forward and added their marks to the document. Ambassador signed for the, Commander signed for the, Cole signed for humanity. Representatives of 9 other species followed. When the last signature was complete, the hall filled with cautious applause that slowly grew stronger. 6 years of war were finally over. The day was not finished. State security spent hours arresting members of the Void Accord. Some confessed immediately when faced with the evidence. Others tried to fight or flee. None escaped. The Human Intelligence Network had identified every conspirator on the station, and the loyal guards of multiple species worked together to bring them to justice. Watched from a quiet corner as the prisoners were led away. His body was tired, but his heart was full. They had done it. His small team of 4 unarmed humans had saved the sun and exposed a conspiracy that spanned the galaxy. He appeared beside him. "Wants to see you. He is waiting in our quarters." Nod and walked back through the quarters. The station felt different now. The tension that had filled the air was gone, replaced by something lighter. Delegates who had avoided each other before were now talking openly. Guards who had watched each other with suspicion were sharing stories and even laughing together. It was fragile, Jake knew, but it had survived its first test. Found in the human quarters, sitting nervously on a chair too large for his thin frame, the young stood up quickly when Jake entered. "Thank you," said simply. "You kept your promise. You remembered that I helped you." "Mentioned you in my report," Jake affirmed. "Your name will be known as a hero among your people." Down at his 4 hands. "I was scared every moment. I thought they would kill me. I thought I would die. But you acted anyway. That is what courage means." She stepped forward and placed her hand gently on one of his arms. "What will you do now?" "Ambassador has offered me a position on his personal staff. He says he needs people he can trust completely, people willing to take risks for peace." "You deserve it," Jake said warmly. Moved toward the door but paused before leaving. "Jake, may I ask you something?" "Of course." "Why did humans build the intelligent network? You could have used it to gain power, to control other species, to make yourselves rulers of the galaxy. Instead, you used it to save a peace treaty that barely includes you. Why?" Jake thought about the question carefully before answering. "Humanity first reached the stars, we were afraid. The galaxy was vast and dangerous, full of species who had been traveling between worlds for thousands of years while we were still learning to walk upright. We had no great fleets, no ancient technologies, no empire stretching across hundreds of systems. All we had was each other. Walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Learned that the greatest power is not the ability to destroy. It is the ability to know the truth and share it. Secrets are the webs of tyrants. When everything is hidden, the powerful can do whatever they want. But when truth is available to everyone, power becomes accountable. That is why we built our network. Not to control anyone, but to make sure no one could control everyone." Absorb this slowly. "Your people are very strange, Jake. We prefer to think of ourselves as hopeful." Young left, and Jake allowed himself to rest for a moment. His team had earned a break, but there was still one more thing he needed to do. Evening, a reception was held in the Grand Tree Hall. The shattered glass and overturned chairs from the earlier chaos had been cleaned away. Now the room was filled with delegates celebrating the new peace. Music played. Drinks were served, this time without poison. Species that had been enemies for generations stood together and tried to imagine a different future. Adder found Jake standing near the crystal pillar, and approached him with all 4 arms extended in a gesture of respect. "Owe you an apology," said gravely. "When your team arrived without weapons, I thought you were foolish. Said your meds would get your ambassador killed. I was wrong." "Could not have known," Jake replied graciously. "I was not, but I should have been less quick to judge. Humans have been part of the galactic community for only a few years. We ancient species assumed that made you primitive. Instead, we discovered that you simply think differently than we do." You were at his side. The young soldier looked uncomfortable in the formal setting, but he stood proudly beside his human friend. "Commander has promoted me," announced. "He says I showed true loyalty to the people by stopping the conspiracy." "You did the right thing when it was hard," said. "That matters more than following orders." Not slowly. "I hope we can meet again someday, under better circumstances." "Count on it." 2 young soldiers clasped hands in a gesture that combined human and traditions, then returned to his delegation, walking a little taller than before. Cole joined Jake and the others as the reception continued around them. "I've received message from Earth," he said with a smile. "The evidence has been seen across the entire galaxy. The Void Accord is being dismantled everywhere. Their members are being arrested on dozens of worlds. Their networks are collapsing, all because 4 unarmed humans decided to shine a light in the darkness. Am looked around at the celebrating delegates, think they will remember what we did. Some will, Jake said honestly, others will forget, but the truth is out there now, it cannot be hidden again, and that matters more than being remembered. But from the species approached the human group. She was tall and insect-like, with multiple eyes that reflected the hall's lights. The government wished to request human security teams for our next diplomatic mission, she announced. After witnessing your methods, we believe they are superior to traditional armed protection. They exchanged surprised glances with his team. We would be honored to discuss the possibility. Requests came throughout the evening. They wanted human advisors for their intelligence services. They wanted to learn human information gathering techniques. Even they asked about establishing formal cooperation. At the end of the night, humanity's place in the galaxy had changed completely. They had arrived as newcomers, mocked for their weakness. They left as essential partners, respected for their unique strengths. He gathered his team for one final moment together before the celebrations ended. I'm proud of all of you, he said quietly. We came here with nothing but our minds and our courage. We faced a conspiracy that could have destroyed everything, and we won, not with violence but with truth. He smiled. The galaxy learned something important today. What is that? He asked. Humans are never really unarmed. We always carry something that can change the world. Nodded and looked out at the stars that had watched humanity take its first steps into the void. They were the same stars that now watch humanity earn its place among the ancient species of the galaxy. Conceal, he said softly, is more powerful than any weapon. We conceal the truth, and we share it freely with anyone brave enough to see. At the station, ships from a dozen worlds began departing toward their homes. They carried news of peace and of the strange humans who had made it possible. The galaxy would never see humanity the same way again. Jake, leader of 4 unarmed guards, smiled as he watched the future unfold.